Thanks to everyone on Facebook for saying something. Sorry, my mic, I guess, wasn't working. Is it working now? We'll find out. Anyway, let me try to do a quick recap in case you're on Facebook and you can't hear anything. So today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite books and lessons for Women's History Month, which is the month of March. And also I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite lessons and ideas for St. Patrick's Day, again, sort of themed around March. So if you have any questions about anything that you hear in the video, or you're interested in something that you hear or see, I have a whole page on my blog dedicated to the books, the puppets, the games, everything sort of I talk about in these videos. So if you want to find some of those things and you can't find them, if you're listening, watching, whatever, usually at the bottom of the caption for this video, there's a direct link, or an Instagram, it's my link in profile. Or you can just go to makemomentsmatter.org and you can click on the videos tab and find the recap page for Musical Mondays. All of the stuff that I talk about in tonight's video should be there. And also there's a Facebook group, Every Moment Matters, a music education community. Come, ask questions, make friends, learn from others. It's a great place to learn and watch and find things out. Okay. Before I do anything else, I want to have a quick update. So last week I talked a little bit at the end of the video about 4th grade and how we're using nursery rhymes to help with compositions with melodies, basically improvising melodies and creating them together. And I talked about how the process of that is we learned all the nursery rhymes, and then all together as a class we sort of processed through Hickory Dickory Dock, and we took each line and I showed them examples. If you want to go through and learn more about that process, I talked about it last week in my videos. All those videos are always archived on YouTube and on Facebook, and they're on the podcast too if you want to go back and find that. But that was towards the end of the video. And so I talked about how we did that, and basically it was, as a class, I showed some examples, we processed through, each kid made their own composition, and then in the following lesson, the kids got to work together in teams and basically come up together with their own creation as a team, and they created their own melody there. And then I made it a little bit harder, and I let them mix up their team. Anyway, the progression of that is that then I'm going to give them all different nursery rhymes, and I've done that, and that was super fun. So like maybe one group got Hickory Dickory Dock, maybe one got Humpty Dumpty, maybe one got Jack and Jill. There were a whole variety that I gave out to kids, and they had to go through and create their own melody. So then it was a little different because it's not like every group was doing Hickory Dickory Dock and it's sort of a different version, but each one had their own nursery rhyme they were doing. It sort of was fun for them to create melodies and things based on the rhythms that they already knew and based on those rhythms that were given to them. That was super cool, super successful, with all of the scaffolding of the several days in a row of doing it and sort of leading them to it. If I had to try to do it all in one day, I'm sure it would not have worked. But we sort of processed into it and it worked just fine. Now, I had a day where I knew last weekend I was gone to the Kansas Music Educators Association. I presented there last Friday. So there was like a weird day on Thursday where I was like, the Friday kids aren't going to get the lessons that the Thursday kids will. So I was like, do I like try and, it's always that do I try and rush together, those Friday kids, do I try and squeeze in their like next lesson and the Friday lesson they missed, or do I just not teach the third, it's like, how do you sort of balance that schedule of planned lessons? Well, so what I planned was I'm just going to do an extra extension for my Thursday kids that my Friday kids won't get, and then we'll just start fresh the following week. So what I did was I took these things that I had printed out with the poems, and the poem is just, line by line. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. So each line of the paper had a different part of the poem, saying, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. So it's basically just the poem just broken into its 4 lines. And I also talked last week about these nursery rhyme blocks, which is from a brand called Uncle Goose, and I have them right here. And what they are, they're just wooden blocks, and on 2 sides are pictures, sort of embossed, cool pictures. And then on each side of the block are words. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. Whoops. sorry, wrong way. The sheep's in the meadow, the cow's in the corn. So each side has a different line. Is this the way you mind your sheep? Under the haystack fast asleep, right? So basically it's the same thing, just a block version of the paper. It was also funny because I was like, well, I have 2 classes on Thursday, so like I'm going to try one with the paper and one with the blocks. The blocks didn't work as well for this because if it was poems that they didn't know. But here's what I did. I handed out the papers, and the group at the paper, I said, okay, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to create a melody based on the rhythm, but you just can't go line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. So you have to do either line 2, 3, 4, 1, or you have to do line 3, 4, 1, 2, or you can go line 1, 3, 2, 4, or you can go line 2, 3, 4, 1, like whatever. I let them sort of choose and jump around. So they pulled the rhythm from the lines, they mixed it up in a different way, and then they added their own melody to it. And it was really cool because then they came up with totally interesting and weird, and it challenged them because for some of them, I'm like, oh, Humpty Dumpty again or whatever. There's so many things you can do with it. And so even if it was like a block like the nursery rhyme block, maybe you just read, around the block, but just don't start on number 1. Don't start on the first one. So like for this one, let's see if you can figure out what the poem is. He put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well. Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife and couldn't keep her. Done. Right? And so then sort of it changes the story. Well, he put her in a pumpkin shell, so she left him. Instead of like, he couldn't keep her, so he put her in a pumpkin shell. Right? Like, it changes the story. Anyway, so then what they had to do was, for the final performance, they had to read the poem in the order that they chose, and they had to play what they came up with. So maybe it'd be like, the little dog laughed to see such sport, hated a little the cat and the fiddle, the dish ran away with the spoon, the cow jumped over the moon. Then they play. So it was just sort of a different mix-up version of what we had done before, and it was a fun extension because like I was fine ending with like each group had their own poem and we shared with the class. That was a great way to end sort of that unit of nursery rhymes and how we played them. But then to have an extra day, I was like, so we mixed them up and it was super fun. Another way to look at the nursery rhyme, use the nursery rhyme as an example, use that rhythm to pull out the rhythm, and to use that in lessons. So I just wanted to give that update because I talked about it last week, and I wanted to show you another way you could use the poem if you wanted, as a way to sort of use that the language of the poem as a rhythmic base to create. Okay, let's talk about books for March. So March is Women's History Month, and I love reading books with kids. There are so many great books that you can use. These are just a few of the books that I pulled off the shelf as I was running out of school today. I'll give a quick brief synopsis, but won't read a ton. Swing Sisters, the story of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm. This is one that I use for Black History Month, and I also use for Women's History Month. I think it's perfect because it talks about swing music. It talks about sort of big band. It uses a lot of instruments. Talks about the hardships these women went through. It's all based in like early 1900s. So super, super cool book. And the blurb says, back in 1909, not far from Jackson, Mississippi, Dr. Lawrence Clifton Jones opened a special place for orphans named Piney Woods Country Life School. And then the girls at this school formed the band together. And they call themselves the Sweethearts. And they chipped away at racist and sexist barriers wherever they went. Super cool book. You can see this is a library discard. So you don't have to buy books new. You can buy books. And they can be used, and they're still great books. I especially like getting library discards because books bought for libraries are very sturdy and are usually in pretty good shape. Sometimes the library will discard them because they're in bad shape, but if they do that, they usually don't resell them. So if it's like these books just haven't been checked out in a while, or we have too many or whatever, they'll sometimes discard, and this is a great way to get good quality books. Okay, so Swing Sisters, love that one. That is by Karen Deans, Deans. And like I said, all the things are on the links page if you want to go and find any of these books. I actually have a link to them on Amazon, so you can go and take the ISBN and take the author name and buy it wherever you want. It doesn't have to be on Amazon. Ella, Queen of Jazz. Love this book by Helen Hancock. It talks about Ella Fitzgerald, how she grew in fame, how she also faced adversity, especially because she was a black woman, but how a lot of people fell in love with her music. And this is sort of the story of Ella Fitzgerald and Marilyn Monroe and their relationship, and how sort of Marilyn advocated for Ella and how they became friends. Super cool book. I actually have a resource on Teachers Pay Teachers that is like a substitute, like I call it the book companion. And it has a PowerPoint with links to information about Ella Fitzgerald. It has links to videos of her singing. It has examples and like vocabulary, all that sort of stuff, and a bunch of worksheets, including coloring pages and things. So like when I'm gone, like when I went to KBA on Friday, I can leave the book. The sub can read the book, can go through the PowerPoint, can lead them through worksheets, can show videos if they want. And my sub on Friday left a note that was like, "Thank you. I am not a music person. Thank you for leading something that I felt comfortable doing." And so I know not everyone is a music person, but leaving them a book about a musician or about something, and then giving them things that they're used to seeing as a substitute, like PowerPoints or history or links to videos or worksheets. That's something they're comfortable doing. My kids are still getting really good content, really cool books. They're learning about musicians, and the sub likes the lesson. So like win-win-win. Anyway, that's on Teachers Pay Teachers if you're interested. I don't think I put a link on the links page, but I will. Another great book that I do, I have the same thing. I have another book companion resource. Is called My Name is Celia, Me Llamo Celia, The Life of Celia Cruz. This one is written by Monica Brown. Same sort of thing where like I like to leave the book and then leave all the accompanying worksheets or PowerPoints or whatever. And sometimes I teach this and then I just use those resources myself, and sometimes I leave it for a sub. Either way, it's fun to have that resource available. This one's cool because it can be read in English or in Spanish. So when I leave these books for a sub, I'm pretty sure a sub would just be fine reading this one. With this one, I also think I found a link online to someone reading it who read it in English and then read it in Spanish, because I don't think my sub was going to want to do that, but it'd be cool for her to have that option if they wanted to show that. So this one is My Name is Celia, Me Llamo Celia, The Life of Celia Cruz by Monica Brown. Great book. The illustrations are beautiful. And if you don't know Celia Cruz's music, you should, because it's fantastic. And she's just this like crazy performer who lights up the stage. So wonderful. I actually found a video of Jennifer Lopez like doing a tribute to Celia Cruz. Super cool. Anyway, and some songs you might know. Okay, A Dance Like Starlight. This is by Christy Dempsey and Floyd Cooper. And this, it tells the story of the first African-American prima ballerina, Janet Collins. And it's just a really cool story. Again, I think it's important to highlight not just musicians, but also dancers and people who are connected to music, instrumentalists, all sorts of different jobs that are part of music or part of performing arts. And so this is a really great one. And the pictures are cool. The story is great. It's very lyrical, but also it's just a cool, different sort of story that maybe you wouldn't always see. And so I really like this one, A Dance Like Starlight, One Ballerina's Dream by Christy Dempsey and Floyd Cooper. Another one about a ballerina. This one is Firebird. And this is by Misty Copeland and illustrated by Christopher Myers. So Misty Copeland is a ballerina, and she talks about like her journey. It's as if she's like talking to a young ballerina. So the first couple of pages says, "The space between you and me is longer than forever. You are the sky and clouds and air. Your feet are swift as sunlight, stretching across the skyline like the day-long sun on the horizon. Me, I'm gray as rain, heavy as nap time, low as a storm pressing on rooftops. I could never hope to leap the space between." Like the perspective of the little girl. "Darling child, don't you know? You're just where I started. Let the sun shine on your face. Your beginnings just begun. So it's a really cool book. The illustrations are just gorgeous. I'm pretty sure the illustrator won a Caldecott Award for, I don't think it was this work, I think it was previous work. So it goes through and it talks about a lot of things that if you have students who are in ballet, they're going to recognize. But it's also just a really cool book. And this is called Firebird, written by Misty Copeland and illustrated by Christopher Myers. So another one that's great for dance. And I have another one for ballet. This is called Tall Chief. It's about America's first Native American prima ballerina, who was Maria Tallchief. So this one is actually written by Maria Tallchief with Rosemary Wells, illustrations by Gary Kelly, another library discard. You can see Helen Plum Library, Lombard, Illinois. Not anymore. It's mine. Yeah, so this is a bit of a longer one, so this one might be cool if you're going to read in portions or read part of, because there's a lot of text in here with not a lot of pictures. So if you're going to read this one, it's got to be with an older grade or one that's willing to maybe sit, or maybe you pair the words with other pictures or read it in pieces. But it's a really great one. It tells about her life, how she grew up, sort of her start, and then really the difficulty of becoming a ballerina, but also her life as a ballerina. It's another cool book to add. And again, it's sort of another perspective, both about performing arts, but also about who's doing the performing. And so that's Tall Chief, America's Prima Ballerina by Maria Tallchief with Rosemary Wells. And then one more, and these are not all the books. I have so many more books for Women's History Month, but these are just some that I'm going to try and focus on, make sure that they're read or out on the shelves or in the window, so that kids are seeing these books and seeing them pop up more. This is called A is for Audrey, Broadway's Leading Ladies from A to Z. I love this one. And also it's funny because some of my students recognize and some don't. And sometimes I can say like, oh, this is so-and-so you might recognize from blah, blah, blah. A is for Audra, who awes and amazes. With each line and note, all the critics sing praises. And then down here it says, Audra McDonald as Billie Holiday, Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill 2014. So it shows like it shows the performer and what show is being referenced in this page. B is for Barbara, and Barbara too, both versatile vocalists, equaled by few. So Barbara Streisand and Barbara Cook. C's for Christine's crystal clear intonations, for which she's won Tonys and standing ovations. Christine Ebersol. And then it goes through. D is for Dolly, that devious dame, played by Carol, Pearl, and Bet, and too many to name. So that's, then Hello Dolly by Carol Channing, Pearl Bailey, and Bette Midler. And so each one is cool, and it goes through, it has a lot of people they might know, some they might not, maybe some images that they would know, maybe some that they wouldn't. Let's see if I can find a great example. Yeah, so here's a great example. So there's Idina Menzel as Elphaba in Wicked, and it's fun then to say like Elphaba or Idina Menzel also did the voice of Elsa, so it's like fun to go through and share some of that with kids. So super cool book. A is for Audra, Broadway's Leading Ladies from A to Z. This was written by John Robert Ullman and illustrated by Peter Emmerich. Cool book. So these are just some of the books I would use. There are a lot more books that you could add in, but I have a whole Amazon page just for books for Women's History Month. Go check it out. Like I said, you don't have to buy from Amazon. You can buy it from a local bookstore. You can get from your local library. But I wanted to share them now at the beginning of March / last few hours of February. So if you wanted to get those books, buy them, get them from the library, etc. I wanted to give you time to do that. So that's why I'm sharing about them tonight. Okay, also March is the month of St. Patrick's Day, and so many of my students love St. Patrick's Day, not just the young ones, some of the older ones as well. So I wanted to share a couple things that you could do if you wanted to sort of go along with the theme, or be like theme adjacent, or, sort of jump into that. I'll be honest and say that my students and the staff at my building, we're all sort of stressed and we're ready for spring break. And so to have something that's fun and on theme and also teaching is great. So that's why I wanted to share some of these St. Patrick's Day things with you. So the first thing I would share is I did a lesson years ago about catching a leprechaun, and I'll share that in just a second. But I found this book that is just delightful. I'm sure I shared about it last year, but just in case, this is How to Trap a Leprechaun, written by Sue Fleiss, I think, Fliess, illustrated by Emma Randall. Emma Randall has illustrated a bunch of other books that I've talked about before or that you've probably seen before. She's a great illustrator, very kid-friendly. So I'll just read a couple pages. Legend tells of tiny elves who visit once a year. They'll steal your treasures for themselves, then quickly disappear. If you catch a leprechaun, he'll grant a wish, I'm told. But if he gets away, too bad. No wish, no luck, no gold. Poof. See, and all these kids are thinking about the wishes. This one wants to have a unicorn. Okay. This one wants to climb up into a rocket-sized ice cream cone. This one wants to go to Mars, apparently. This one wants to have butterfly wings. All great goals that hopefully a leprechaun could fulfill. Small and full of trickery, they'll fool you if they can. Catching one takes smarts and skills, but most of all, a plan. The night before St. Patrick's Day, the leprechauns appear. If you wish to capture one, you'll need the proper gear. So it goes through telling you how to make a leprechaun trap where you paint some rocks gold and how you're gonna trick them in and then trap them. It's cute. It goes through. My favorite is it has them go down a rainbow slide like the leprechaun's gonna get caught, and then you put your gold painted rocks in the box along with some glue. Leprechauns come out at night so they can sneak around. Now close the drapes and dim the light and wait without a sound. And it shows the leprechaun going down the rainbow slide. Did you hear that? Crinkle, snap, quickly check your snare. Shucks, he just escaped the trap. He could be anywhere. Poof. And I love these illustrations, the super huge on the whole page, bright blues and pinks and yellows of the leprechaun escaping in a puff of magic dust. Look at this. He left his shoe. And in the shoe, a note. Tiny words addressed to you. And this is what he wrote. And you might expect me to try and read it in butchered Irish accent. I will not, because number one, I'm so bad at that. But number two, I don't hear the note in that voice. I hear it in this voice. Dear children, thanks for the glitter and shiny gold rocks, but I can't be trapped by a cardboard box. Your tricks were quite clever. Your trap was so great. But it takes more than rainbows to seal my fate. Signed, Liam the Leprechaun. I don't know why, but I just always hear that in my head. Your tricks were quite clever. Your trap was so great. I don't know why. It just makes me laugh. It's a shame he got away, but please don't shed a tear. Go enjoy St. Patrick's Day and try again next year. And then at the end of the book, they talk a little bit about leprechauns and how fun it is, and then how you can build your own leprechaun trap if you want. Anyway, super cute book, How to Trap a Leprechaun. This is by Sue Fleiss, Fliess, illustrated by Emma Randall. Cute book, and it leads really well into the lesson that I share with kids. And this is one I've shared several times. I have a whole blog post about it. So if you are excited, but you want to have the details written down and the words of the song written down, I linked it on the links page. There's a whole blog post with written notation, everything in case you want it. So I tell kids about how, and usually I do this, you could do it before, you could do it after. So if your spring break happens and you miss St. Patrick's Day, but still want to do the lesson, there are ways to modify it. So if it happens before or during or after your break or whatever, or if you don't have a break, you can do this lesson at any time. It can be a post-leprechaun lesson or a pre-St. Patrick's Day lesson, whatever. So what I say is, one day I came into the music room and I was setting down my coffee and setting down my bag. It was the beginning of the day, and there were instruments everywhere. They were scattered all over. They were thrown around. All the instrument boxes had been knocked over. The xylophones had been knocked. It was crazy in here. And I almost could not believe what was going on. And then I heard a hee 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 coming from over in the basket over there. And I snuck over and I reached in very quietly and I grabbed something, and that's when I pulled out. Okay, and by the way, I'm just so excited. I was gifted. It's not a puppet. It's like an Irishman, like stuffy. I mean, he might even be Scottish. I don't know. It's sort of like, but anyway, he's like my Leprechaun stand-in. Anyway, so you could do this without an actual leprechaun. You could get like a little Dollar Tree, whatever. You could fake it. You could make clip art. Doesn't matter. In fact, for years I did this with clip art, like printed out clip art, and I was like, oh, I trapped him, and then he became 2D. Whatever. The kids don't care. I trapped him in the magic whiteboard. Again, whatever. The kids don't care. But I captured a little leprechaun, and he was rummaging around in my instruments, and I was so frustrated with him that he was trying to take my instruments. And then, of course, the leprechaun starts to talk. What are you doing? You can't hold me. Do you know who I am? And I'm like, yes, of course I know who you are. I'm the leprechaun who tried to steal my instruments. No. Do you know my name? I am very important. You should not do this to me. And so, anyway, I have this back and forth with the leprechaun about how, I don't care what your name is. You're the one who's trying to steal our instruments. You shouldn't be doing it. He's like, my name is Seamus Daniel Patrick Flanagan O'Donoghue. I forget what I even called him. This, super long, short Irish name. Anyway, and I was like, well, look, dude, I don't care who you are. You can't be stealing my student's instrument. Dude? Who are you calling dude? My name is Seamus Patrick Daniel Flanagan O'Donoghue, and I'm the king of the leprechauns in this area of the world, and you must let me go. Anyway, so we have this sort of back and forth, super silly, and I find out that he doesn't like when I call him, dude or bud, and he especially doesn't like it when I use the wrong name. And this whole lead up of he keeps saying his name over and over and over, and it's 6 different names, and so I can never remember. It's so long. I can't remember. Seamus Daniel Patrick Flanagan O'Donoghue. I can't remember even what I originally wrote down, but he keeps saying his name and I can't remember it. So I say Bud or Buddy or whatever, and he hates that. And then I find out how much he hates that if I call him Brandon. Don't call me Brandon. That's not my name. My name is Seamus Daniel Patrick. Anyway, he goes through and he gets all frustrated. And so then I write a little song. It goes, I caught a leprechaun. He was very sneaky. I caught a leprechaun, and now I call him Brandon. Don't call me Brandon. So anyway, and when I used to do this with printed out clip art or whatever, I would put him in a little box or a thing, and I would shake it whenever he'd get really angry. But anyway, so Seamus Daniel Patrick Flanagan O'Donoghue, he was rummaging around on my instruments, and then I try and show students, what was he trying to steal? Well, let me show you what he's trying to steal. Well, he didn't mess with the wood blocks. He was not messing around with the shakers. He didn't care at all about the tone blocks. He didn't care about the temple blocks. He didn't care about the xylophones. He didn't care about the drums. It was really confusing. But what he did, what he was really interested in, he wanted the finger cymbals. I don't know. Can you figure out why you think he would maybe want the finger cymbals? They're pretty small. They're not very heavy. But why do you think you can figure out why he wanted the finger? And the kids are like, oh, because it's gold. I'm like, well, okay, it's not really gold, but it looks like gold. And it makes this pretty sound. Ooh, that's fun. Listen to that again. Ooh, I love that. And so then we can talk about how you play finger cymbals. It's not like crash, crash, crash. It's like you hold them you let them wiggle. You got to let them wiggle. And then you just tink them together. You tap them together. You give them a light little woo. And so I'm trying to get kids away from doing the smash, 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 because that's not really how you make a nice sound on these things. So we talk about how to make a good sound, how to do that. I even have a fancy, very thick set of finger cymbals that I've had for, I don't know, a long time. I found them at thrift store. So you can get a really pretty sound. But we talk about why he would try and steal these, because they look like gold coins. And so then we sing again at him because we're frustrated. How dare you try and take the instrument? I caught a leprechaun. He was very sneaky. I caught a leprechaun, and now I call him Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, that's not my name. Don't call me Gwendolyn. So he gets angry. And then I show them another thing he tried to steal. He tried to steal this. I can't figure out for the life of me why he would even want this. That doesn't seem like something that he would want to play. It's actually like the size of him. Like, why would he want something so big? It doesn't make any sense. And then the kids are like, oh, it's because it's metal, right? Like he thinks it's gold again. And we talk about how to play it. And, ooh, it's sort of a magical sort of a sound. It's sort of a fun sound. Like maybe you'd hear if like you're watching a Disney movie and like something, you know, an enchantress came out or a fairy godmother. Ooh, it does sort of sound like a sort of a magical sound. Anyway, so maybe he liked it because of that. And so then we sing the song again. The kids get to sort of choose the name that they use for him. So there's something else he tried to steal. And I just keep pulling out metal instruments. And we talk about like why he would want to steal these. This one looks sort of like silver. We talk about how to play it. And then eventually I add in a part that the kids can play. And we, on the word leprechaun, we do a little tap. I caught a leprechaun. He was very sneaky. I caught a leprechaun. And now I call him Jeremy or whatever. And every time we change the name, and a kid gets to choose the name. Eventually, I get kids onto finger cymbals so that on the word leprechaun, I caught a leprechaun. He was very sneaky. I caught a leprechaun, and now I call him. You know, and so it's just a way to incorporate some of those instruments that you might want to like. How do you teach kids to, you know, play the finger cymbals? I don't have a finger cymbal lesson. Now I have a finger cymbal lesson where we can talk about how to play that. And then later, if I want to add that into like an arrangement or add that into something else, you can, you know, now they know how to play it. Sometimes I'll put kids on finger cymbals and some on triangles. You could have them play glockenspiel bars, whatever instrument you really want, but that's like a metal instrument, especially one that's shiny. And you can you know, sing back and forth with the little leprechaun and then play the fun metallic instruments. Kids love it. They're able to play. They like they're antagonizing a leprechaun. They think it's hilarious. So it's a fun way to do that. So I just pulled out and brought home today finger cymbals and my triangle. And this is called a bunch of different names. I've heard it called most often a bell tree, but I think every catalog sort of calls it something a little bit different, or I've seen it called a couple different things, but I think if you look for bell tree, because I see Tammy are asking, I think that you'd be able to find it. Anyway, you could pull out any metallic instrument. I almost brought home a glockenspiel to show you. You can, you know, my students and I, we talk about like the metal bars. It looks like bars of silver that maybe he would want. So you could do whatever you want with that, or any other metallic instrument you have. I'm just lucky to have a little. He's not really a leprechaun, but it sort of works. I'm sure that there are leprechaun stuffies out there or things I'm sure right now that you could get and use as well. This one was just gifted to me, and he fits the part. Anyway, hilarious. But I don't just do St. Patrick's Day things with younger grades. I try and do it with some of my older grades as well. And with some of my older grades, then we get into like leprechaun-themed games, leprechaun-themed challenges, things like that. So for me, that I'm trying to do more where I give kids a chance to incorporate some technology, because my kids really like doing things on their iPads. If you have Chromebooks or, you know, computers, things like that, sometimes kids really like to do that too. So I'm trying to do a little bit more, because I tend to do a lot more active things in my classroom, dancing, moving, playing instruments. But so many of my kids react so well to technology, and sometimes there's some kids who don't engage as well, and then you do a lesson with technology and you're like, you do know this concept, you're just, you know, you can do it when you're on an iPad, or, you know, so it's like I'm really trying to like try and hit lots of learners in different ways. And I know that like, yeah, they're getting technology at home or in their classroom or whatever, but like this is another way I can connect with them, so why not do that? So some of these things I do in the classroom. Sometimes I leave them for subs. Sometimes I do, it just depends on what it is we're doing. But I'm going to show you a couple games that you can use that are QR code games that my students like to do on their iPads, because all my students have iPads. I know not everybody has that, but this game also works on Chromebooks and things like that too. So I have like a whole host of games that I've created over the years. There's like symbols and vocabulary. There's instrument sorts, there's treble clef notes, there's rhythm thing, there's all sorts of things. When I leave it for a sub, I usually print it off and put it in these are called dry erase pockets. And I usually put it in there so that like it doesn't get ripped up, and then I don't have to like print it out, laminate it. But it's something I can put in the dry erase pocket and then give to the sub, and then she can carry it around the room, and students can play on it. I'm going to show you the version on a desktop computer, like what it looks like if you're to do it in a web browser. So let me switch over there. Whoops, nope. That's the one. Okay, so this first game, this is just a rhythm game. Ooh, sorry, here on Instagram, let me move you over so you can see this. Yeah, okay. All right. There you go, Instagram. Okay, so this first game, this is a rhythm game, and it says choose the right rhythm to keep the leprechaun away from your gold. Tap the rhythm that you think would match the word leprechaun. Okay, so leprechaun, is it ta, ta, dee? Is it ta, dee, ta, dee? Is it ta, dee, ta? So if you choose ta, dee, with the pink shamrocks behind it. Oh no, you chose the wrong rhythm. The leprechaun just took some of your gold. Try again. Leprechaun. We'll choose the one with the gold shamrocks in the background. Ta, dee, ta. Leprechaun. Ooh, hooray, you chose the right rhythm. Your gold is safe for now. Next challenge. And then you get another word, gold. So again, if you choose wrong, it'll say no. If you choose right, you got to go on to the next one. This has, I think, like 30 different words. And you can go through shamrock, and if you get the wrong one, the leprechaun comes for your gold. But it's just a fun one where kids have to like work out through the word. They have to work out the rhythm and figure out which one matches. This is a real hit with like my second graders, third graders, but sometimes older grades too. Here's another one. This is one where you could do a bunch of different things. So you could do reinforced dynamics. You can reinforce symbols, musical symbols, note value, tempo. So like, let's look at the dynamics one. Intruder alert. Choose the symbol that matches the musical vocabulary word to find out who's trespassing through the clover patch. Okay, tap symbol that matches. Forte, loud. So they have to go in here. They have to find it. If they hit the wrong one, whoops, click anywhere to try again. If they hit the right one, it reveals just a part of the image. So this is fun because it's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle. Like they have to reveal the secret image below. And this one, I think it's their like St. Patrick's Day cats that are going through the clover patch. Anyway, they can always X out and go back to the main menu. But this is one that's really great to leave with a sub because, great to leave with a sub because they can try a bunch of different things, bunch of different games, symbols, note value, tempo, etc. So they're getting good exposure to different stuff. And then like the sub can lead them through a couple different things. This one is tell me what family the instrument belongs to. So if there's trombone, they have to click the area that's right. Strings, no. Percussion, no. Brass, yes. And this actually has a silly little sound that goes with it that's muted right now, so you don't have to hear it every single time, but there's like a little chime that comes through. So this one they have to go through, and on each instrument they have to figure out what family it belongs to. This is another fun one. It's just sort of a reinforcement, no matter what your grade level is, to help them learn what instrument family instruments belong to. Here's another one. This is like the same sort of content of like I've got a treble clef one, I got a notes of the instruments of the orchestra one, but this one the format just feels different for kids. So it could be the same content. They could still be learning treble clef. They could still be doing instruments of the orchestra, but in this one, if they choose the right note name, like a shamrock comes flying out, and kids, I don't know why, but they really like this. So the reveal the secret image game is fun, but this one they're like, ooh, they get excited about the shamrock flying through because it flies through in different ways. So that's a fan favorite. Here's another Collect the Shamrocks. It's the same sort of thing, only this is note value or symbols, dynamics, and tempo. And then the last one, another Collect the Shamrocks, only this one is like instrument families. So like, you have to go through, and on this one, it gives you the instrument, and then you have to tell me what the name of the instrument is. So not like sorting instruments into their families, but tell me the name of the instrument. So this is another good one. It's just fun for review and fun for kids to be able to do. And if they get it wrong, nothing bad happens. They get to try again. But if they get the shamrock, ooh, win. So with these, like I said, I like to leave them. Ooh, hello. See if Instagram turns back. I like to leave them for subs. They're great for subs. I like to have them around in case we have a day like last Thursday where it was like one set of classes was going to be off the rotation. I like to have it if we have time at the end of class and they have their iPads. I like to have it just as another way to assess, because even though I'm not getting like a formal assessment from the app or anything, I can walk around and I can see who's just clicking, and I can see who like actually knows the information. I can see the kids who are checking the vocabulary wall. It's a great time for me to differentiate so that like the kids who are doing really well, I can let them zoom through and play more games. If I need to sit down and help kids, I can help them. But again, because these kids are sort of digital natives, they like getting onto their iPad and doing that. Another way I've done it is like what I just showed you, like you're looking at the web browser version, because you can do it on iPads, you can do it on a web browser. I like to do it where like if you have a smart board, they can go up and as a class, they can send somebody up to do the answer. So, or you can do it in teams. If you think your team knows the answer, you can send someone up to do the answer. I don't have a smart board. I have iPads that I can mirror onto my board. So if my game, or if my iPad is the one that's like the game playing iPad, kids can then come up to my iPad, tap what they think the answer is. It's interactive and it shows up on the main screen. So that's cool too, where I can like walk around with the iPad and go kid to kid. That way they're not like standing up in front of the class, but they're still getting a chance to like play the game and everyone sees the results. And because these games are not built to like, ooh, you lose. It's like, oh, try again. Kids will always be successful in the end. So there's always that sort of payoff for them. And yet I can still see like, ooh, they didn't get that answer right away. They chose woodwinds for the violin. Clearly they don't, so like I can sort of still make that assessment even if I'm not, even if I'm not doing like pencil paper. It's different, but I can still see that and assess them if I want. So the games are really fun. Kids like it, but you can do it either on their own device, you can do it up on a smart board, you can do it in a web browser, you can send it through Canvas as like a home assignment. So there's a lot of ways to use it, but if I have it available to use, I end up using it more. So like anytime I go through and I get these, I print them out and I put them in my subfolder in case I need to pull them out at a moment's notice. It's also great for emergency sub plans to have available there. So fun to be able to have those games. And one more thing that I do on in March is I like to sing songs that are from Ireland or are related. And of course, a favorite one is Cockles and Mussels. So let me just show you that really quick. Let's see if I can flip the screen around so y'all can see it. So this is like a favorite folk song set that I made. You don't have to have this, but it's nice to be able to give a little bit of background information. So like I can talk about where Ireland is. I can show them the map. We could talk about the country itself. They can see the flag. I've got details about the song, when it was first written down, all of that. Was Molly Malone a real person? All sort of things like that. Then also we talk about who a fishmonger is. What is a fishmonger? We talk about what cockles and mussels are like. It's not mussels like you grow mussels, but like mussels grow in the ocean. And so that's sort of fun, and to have a picture for like a wheelbarrow, things like that. I also on this slide have a whole page that are just Irish symbols, because kids will sometimes recognize like, oh, okay, I know, the harp, or I know the leprechaun or the shamrock or whatever. And then of course I have, the written notation. In Dublin's fair city, where girls are so pretty, 'twas there I first met with sweet Molly Malone. And usually when I'm doing this with kids, I'll sing the verse and I'll have them sing the chorus. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. If I do multiple verses, I usually am the one singing the verse, and then they do the the chorus. And then also in this page I have, media. So like if you want to do the Dubliners Irish Band or Sinead O'Connor, or their animated versions of the song. So that's a fun one to be able to do with kids. Oh, and for sure a couple years ago, I figured out that if I handed out castanets, they sort of look like Cockles and Mussels, and so you can have a fun little rhythm lesson in there too, where kids get to play on those things, and it's hilarious to have them sort of look like Cockles and Mussels. But my favorite song from that traces back to Ireland would be Ratlinbog, and this is one I sang when I was little. It's been a favorite for a long time, and so if you don't know this one, it's a song about a tree. It's very, very similar and has the same historical roots as The Green Grass Grew All Around. There's this song called The Everlasting Circle that sort of all these different variations of the song stem from. And so in this song, well, before we do the song, we talk about some of the vocabulary. We talk about what a bog is. A bog, it's similar to a marsh or a swamp, but it's not. It's different. they're all different kinds of wetland. It's a specific kind. I talk about a bodhrán just in case. There's a video I have that I share with kids where someone plays that. And so I have a picture of that too. We talk about ratlin. It doesn't mean like rattling snake. It means something different. There's a cumulative song. We talk about the different parts of the tree. And then we usually sing the song. I even have a real picture of a bog from Ireland. So let me flip back around and I'll tell you. So this one doesn't want to flip around. Sorry, Instagram. Okay, so this is a favorite old song, and it's a great song especially because it has the different parts that are so easy to teach. So the first part goes, "Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog down in the valley, oh." So things to love about it musically. This is sort of the chorus that everyone sings together. There's an octave leap. What? How exciting. And it's repetitive. The kids like it. They like it because it's like, it's repetitive. It's sort of alliterative. They just like it. It's a fan favorite. But then, so there's the part we sing together, the chorus, and then there's sort of a call or an echo really. And so it goes, "And in that bog, and in that bog, there was a tree, a rare tree, a rattling tree, a rattling tree." So it's a lot like Green Grass Grew All Around, if you know that song. So we're like, I sing a part, they sing a part, I sing a part, they sing a part. At the end, we sing together. "And the tree and the bog down in the valley, oh." It's a super fun one to play on ukulele while they're singing. So it goes, "Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog down in the valley, oh. And in that bog, there was a tree, So then verse 2 would be, "And on that tree, there was a limb, a rare limb, a rattling limb, a rat." And then it goes, "And the limb on the tree, and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, row." So it keeps just going, and you can go, and so I add actions. So there's the limb, there's the branch, there's the twig. You could do all sorts of things. One of the original ones, there's a nest, and in the nest there's an egg with a bird and a feather and a flea, and it's however you want to take it. One thing that my students have done in the past when we've had time is we learn the song, we sing the song. It's fun. You can add a little swing your partner action in there if you want. "Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog down in the valley." Switch directions. "Oh, row the Ratlinbog, the bog." So I add in the swing your partner in there if you want. But it's a super fun little song to add in. So what my kids do is usually we sing the song, we learn the song, we spend a day doing it. If we have time for a second day, we change the words. So you can have them do in their own. You can have them do, you could do, "Oh, row the Ratlin." You can change the setting. You can change the place. "Oh, row the Ratlin boat, the boat down in the bay. Oh, you can change that if you want. Or you could stick with the tree, and you could just do like a different avenue. So, "And on that limb, there was a squirrel, a rare squirrel." Or, it could be a nest, and it could be not a bird, but, something else there might be a specific kind of bird. It could be an eagle. It could be an owl. Like, where could that take you? And when I give kids, like, okay, you get 5 minutes to change this song. Here's some options. Yada, 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 yada. They come up with some hilarious things. Sometimes we sing them. Sometimes we just tell them to the class and then sing this song as an ending, you know, as like a final form. We sing the original. Sometimes we sing the new versions. There are lots of options. So a super fun, it's a super fun song. Like I said, there are versions of it online where you can do like the original version of the song. Let me see if I have it linked on that. Yeah, there's Harry O'Donoghue sings Ratlinbog and plays the bodhran, which is that drum. And that's like for a music festival, I think. So he goes through and sings it. There's a version of a bunch of Irish people singing it at a wedding. So there are just some super cool versions of that you could sing. If you know The Green Grass Grew All Around, it is very, very, very similar because it sort of came out of the same tradition of that song and grew out of that. And so it's pretty similar to Green Grass Grew. So if you already teach that one, maybe teach this one to a different grade. Or you could talk about how it's like similar but not the same. It could be a compare and contrast if you wanted to. But it's a super fun song too. So Cockles and Mussels I usually teach every year, and Ratlinbog I usually teach every year. But they're great. They're fun to teach in March, and you could talk about the connection to Ireland. You could talk about all of that. If you wanted to, for the Ratlinbog, you could say like, oh no, the Leprechaun's messed up the verses. We got to change them or whatever. But there are some fun connections there if you want. Like I said, I use the favorite folk song sets because I like, especially for like Ratlinbog. What does Ratlin mean? What is a bog? You know, or Cockles and Mussels even too. Like, what are cockles? What are mussels? What's a fishmonger? You know, like kids don't automatically know those words. Maybe some of them do, but that's a great vocabulary. But kids don't automatically know those words, so I like highlighting and talking about some of those so that I know that they have that content instead of just like, here's the song, enjoy. You know, it's like I want them to know what they're singing about and why they're singing about it. So favorite folk song sets are pretty easy way to help out with the lesson and explain some of those things on the fly. And it means that then, like, you know, in the 10 minutes before the class, I'm not like looking at pictures of a bog or anything. It's just all there. So anyway, that's on the links page if you're interested for either of those. Okay, I hope that this gave you some ideas for March. So like I said, we went through at the beginning of the video, we talked through some books that you might consider using to read or share with your kids or get from your library, all about Women's History Month. If you want more books than just the books that I talked about, I have a whole page on Amazon with all of my favorites. You don't have to buy it on Amazon, but Amazon's a place where you can, if you click each book, you can get the ISBN, you can get the author, you can get publisher information, all that stuff, so you can track it down either on Amazon or somewhere else. And then we also talked about Leprechaun lessons, QR code games, tech games, and then a couple other songs you could do if you wanted in March. Hope this gives you some ideas, things that you can use in the upcoming month. I'm going to be back again next Monday for another Musical Mondays video. Thanks so much everyone who came along. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, leave them in the chat. Leave them on the video. I'll try and answer them as I can. Or send me an email. My email is makemomentsmatter@gmail.com. Thanks so much everyone. Have a great night.